Newcastle 4-3, Nottingham Forest. Player ratings and talking points from Street James Park Epic. Newcastle edged past Forest in 7-goal thriller in Northeast. Alexander Isak on target twice and registers 50th Premier League goal of career. Forest fought back in second half and came close to earning share of the spoils. A destructive first-half display helped Newcastle United edge past top-four rivals Nottingham Forest 4-3 in a pulsating clash at St James Park. The Magpies swiftly put the disappointment of conceding an early goal to returning Forest winger Callum Hudson-Odoi behind them, scoring 4 times in an electrifying 11-minute period. Miley leveled proceedings, firing home a precise left-footed finish through a cluster of bodies, before Jacob Murphy atoned for his error in the build-up to Hudson-Odoi's early goal by bundling home from close range. Alexander Isak then took over to score the 49th and 50th goals of his Premier League career, the Swede's quick-fire brace enabling him to register the landmark in just 76 appearances, the 7th best in the league's 33-year history. Isak's first goal came from the penalty spot, his conversion from 12 yards a little unconventional as Matz Sels almost kept his effort out, and his second was a deflected effort that looped into the back of the net. The halftime interval couldn't come soon enough for Forest, who used the break to regroup and refocus as Newcastle appeared to go into cruise control in the early stages of the second half. A dozy 20-minute spell was appropriately punished by Forest, and in particular centre-back Nikola Milinkovic, who smartly flicked home Chris Wood's hooked ball into the box with the outside of his right boot. Newcastle failed to heed the warning and continued to struggle despite making changes, eventually allowing Forest substitute Ryan Yates to turn home a third goal late on. The Magpies did hold on, though, climbing back into the Premier League's top 5 while going level on points, perhaps temporarily, with reigning champions Manchester City. Newcastle player ratings 4-3-3. Nottingham Forest player ratings 4-2-3-1. Newcastle show flashes of Champions League credentials. Recent defeats to Bournemouth, Fulham and Manchester City, 2 of those heavy defeats, had left some wondering whether Newcastle have enough in the tank to stay in the Champions League qualification mix. Squad depth has been a concern in the North East, who will contest the Carabao Cup final with Liverpool next month, with particular worry surrounding the knee injury that ruled Joelinton out of the 4-0 defeat at City last weekend, and for the foreseeable future. Sandro Tonali was on the bench here too, having played the full 90 minutes in Newcastle's last 10 Premier League matches, meaning captain Bruno Guimaraes slotted into a midfield 3 alongside Joe Willock and the emerging Miley. Miley took his goal superbly, inspiring the Street James Park faithful to get behind their team in trademark fashion, and Newcastle's most influential players used the noise-generated momentum to shell-shock Forest. Lewis Hall and Anthony Gordon came to life on the left, as did Murphy on the opposite flank, while Isak was always switched on and ready to pounce. Importantly, Newcastle were winning the midfield battle without Tonali and Joelinton. But things changed pretty dramatically in the second half as Newcastle, who rattled home 4 goals in just 11 minutes, faded. Forest were suddenly on top, with the home side looking devoid of energy, and it was no surprise to see Milinkovic reduce the arrears with 25 minutes remaining. Eddie Howe responded, recognizing he needed Tonali to come on and stabilize things in the middle of the park, but he will be concerned by how quickly Newcastle went from being brilliant to being pretty abject. It highlighted the importance of Tonali in keeping the tempo going, with Joelinton's stamina and general physicality a big miss as the game wore on. Nottingham Forest show their fighting qualities. Nottingham Forest's run into the Premier League's top 3 has been the story of the season. Chris Wood is in the form of his life, and Nuno Espirito Santo has got the absolute best out of Anthony Elanga, Morgan Gibbs-White, Ola Aina, centre-back duo Milinkovic and Murillo, and a host of others. There has been the occasional slip-up from Nuno's side, the 5-0 defeat to Bournemouth the most striking bad result, but they have invariably shown great character and fighting spirit. That resolve was on show once more after a crazy 11-minute period saw the game all but lost. Nuno's side were energized for the second half, despite trailing by 3, and were by far the better team as they hassled and harried Newcastle's tiring backline and midfield. Milinkovic and Yates' goals were just desserts for their endeavour and an indication that Forest won't fade away in the final stretch of the season. Qualifying for next season's Champions League was once a pipe dream, but is now a very real possibility because of gritty displays like this.